Whether you love us or whether you hate us, we're back live and inside the game here on the National Soccer Network. Nate Wangler, Ryan Glinsky here live on Roku, YouTube, or whether or not you're watching us on social media as well. Appreciate everybody that jumps in the chats day after day. And, our biggest update from what happened yesterday into this show, and we have to make sure we get this out of the way first. We're going buco on social media right now. I know we gave you our Champions League quarterfinal breakdown yesterday. And I know our good friend Ryan, he took a little bit of a victory lap yesterday. Well, he's going to victory lap and yap again here today. I told him I would give him the floor to do so because he's Nostradamus over here. He just predicts the future and it ends up becoming true. So I'll let you, right out of the gate here, I'll let you kind of take your victory lap if you want, Ryan.
I need I need certain people in the chat. I hope they show up here soon. But that's kind of what I need. But I guess
Okay.
I guess
All right.
now is
That's
I guess
fair.
now is fine. Even though I need a certain couple people to hear certain things. But yeah, no. I was right about every single quarterfinal matchup in the Champions League. I was right about the Barcelona
You were?
Atletico. I said Barcelona would win, but they wouldn't get out of the aggregate. I said 2-1. That's what happened. And people are like, Liverpool's got a shot against PSG. I go, no way in hell they do. No way they have a shot. And then I have the Arsenal one, and I'm like, yeah, it's gonna be boring, but Arsenal will get through. Oh, lowest viewed quarterfinal Champions League matchup. And I said that one, and then you get Bayern Real Madrid, and they're like remontada. Yeah, sure, if you want to think that, but it's not gonna happen. And that's exactly what happened yesterday. I mean, game of the year, damn near. I wouldn't say game of the century, but damn near game of the year. I'll give you that. Like, that was an unbelievable game. And for all the people that are, saying remontada this, remontada that, this is not the Real Madrid of old. I've been saying this. This is not the Real Madrid of old. You don't have Ronaldo. You don't have Benzema. You don't have Bale, Modric, Cruz, Ramos, Casillas. None of those guys. And you were gifted 2 goals from Arda Güler, who is also a dumbass. That guy is stupid. But you're telling me that team is supposed to be Bayern Munich. No, they're not. The team is stupid. They're not that good. Arbeloa is a dead man walking at this point. It's not the same team. It's not. They're not that good. And you know what's even funnier is you scored a goal in the first minute on a gift, and you did nothing with it. Then you scored a free kick when there was a dive leading up to it, and you still couldn't get it done. And then how about this? We're tied on aggregate, and Kamavinga, who might be the biggest dumbass of all time, is all of a sudden like, yeah, let me just foul him real quick. And then everyone's complaining, refs this, the refs that. Maybe don't foul someone 4 times. There was warnings, Kamavinga. There were warnings.
Yeah.
And it was like this and that and all of this, and it's, the refs are against us. No, maybe don't be a dummy with 5 minutes ago and not get a red card, even though you should have had a red card minutes prior because of how stupid you are. This team is not that good. They just aren't. And if I got to hear another thing about how great Vinny Jr. is, Vinny Jr. might be the stupidest soccer player I've ever seen. This guy might be playing against Real Madrid. This guy, who, by the way, I'm watching the Black Sox little movie when they rigged it back in 1919. Vinny Jr. might be betting on him against himself. This guy, I swear, in the biggest moments, he does nothing right. He gives the ball to the other team. He doesn't do anything. It's all about the antics on the field. It's about the game inside the game for this guy. This guy does absolutely nothing. Even there's a quote coming from Landon, just head over to YouTube. There's no longer an echo on YouTube, on TikTok. Don't do that. But there is a if you want to continue to drop comments, or go to Roku if you don't want to drop comments. There's no echo there. But this guy, there's a quote from Benzema or in the locker room, or in the tunnel before a game. He goes, "Don't pass the ball to Vinny Jr. It's like he's playing against us. He does this every single time. He's not that good of a player." And if this guy, and there's going to be a reason why they flame out in the World Cup, Brazil. There's a reason, and it's because of this guy right here. This guy does absolutely nothing in the big moments, and he does it for Real Madrid. He does it for Brazil, doesn't do anything. And Mbappe, another one. Mbappe's not getting off the hook either. This guy also does nothing in big moments for Real Madrid. He is unbelievable for France. Don't get me wrong. 4 World Cup final goals. That's the most I think I've ever seen from a player. But this guy does nothing in the big moments. And this is what the issue with Real Madrid is. They have so many individuals. They have individuals, too many egos on this team. And they have a manager who is basically just a friend. That's Arbeloa. That's what he is. He is just a friend. There's no real manager. There's no real adult in the room at Real Madrid. And this is the results that you're showing. If Arteta can walk into the Bernabeu and win a game, anyone can walk into the Bernabeu and win a game. Anyone can walk in, or Real Madrid can walk in. There's no fear anymore with this club. There's not a real fear factor with this club anymore. If you were to go back 10 years ago, it'd be like, yeah, there's a fear about this club now. But there's no fear with this club anymore. No one fears Real Madrid. They are some of the dumbest, most individual, most ego-led teams I have ever seen. And then they complain when things don't go the way. Güler, unbelievable game from you. Maybe let's not argue for 50 yards from the ref and then get a red card. I don't know. I know it's after the game, but like the game's over and we're going to argue for 50 yards and then we're eventually going to get the red card. Then we're going to complain that we got a red card and the fans are going to complain that we got a red card. No, it's a dumb team that all they care about is the other stuff. What the new brand deals, what new cars, what jewelry. That's what this whole club's about. There is nothing fearful about this team anymore. Nothing.
Yeah. Glit and glam. It ain't gonna get you very far. Sorry, I almost got you 1,000 likes on TikTok. I was slaving away there. I think I'm one of a couple viewers right now. I got you close, but I'm working on it. But yeah, glit and glam will not necessarily get you there if you can't manage personalities and if you can't get them all moving in the right direction. And if you're more obsessed with image and vision and more importantly vanity, that's not going to do you any benefit. And to your point, I mean, if that's what they're caught up on, then yeah, I mean, they're going to stay in that place. But what a thrilling match yesterday. You called it the match of the year. I mean, is that something you truly believe? Is that the best one we've seen all year, you think?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, I don't think there's anything that's ever topped it. 7 goals. You had red cards, great saves, great individual performances. I mean, Elise's goal and Luis Diaz's goal to end things. I mean, that's the goal that I've always wanted to score. Just cut inside. I mean, I have scored it, but cut inside on the just inside on your inside foot, and then just curl it into the far post. That's an unbelievable finish. Olise, which just to think that France has the likes of just attacking options. They have Olise, they have Ekitike, they've got Dembele, and they've got Mbappe. Just for options. They're like, yeah, we could play them potentially. We could. They're so spoiled, man. That team is so deep, so good. I don't even know. Couple of questions coming in. Get in the chats wherever you are. JJ8, I agree, but also disagree with some of your takes. Well, let me know what takes you disagreed and agreed with. Baku coming in as well. Imagine if you wasted your time watching the Arsenal match instead. No shots even on target. Yeah, no, as an Arsenal fan, I didn't even watch the game either. I just stuck with Real Madrid Bayern Munich game. Fell asleep for a split second. Ekitike is out of the World Cup. He's officially out of the World Cup. Dang. Man, Liverpool, man. So unlucky. They've had Isak out. Ekitike's out. Kirkesh has been trash. So, yeah, they spent money poorly this year.
Yeah. But, you know, what's interesting is in covering all that yesterday, you actually brought up something coming into our show that I thought was really interesting. And if you look at our social media channels and if you read some of the comments on some of our videos, you would think that Europeans don't really pay attention to basketball, specifically college basketball. But it's always nice to learn that not only is our sport in basketball international, but apparently the Block M is international as well. It has been. I think it's the biggest alumni base in the world, if I'm not mistaken. But that team was so good this year. They actually caught the attention of the international soccer/football media. Thierry Henry actually bringing us up yesterday. Michigan up yesterday.
Whoa. You're not going to disrespect the greatest Arsenal player of all time by calling him Thierry Henry. Thierry Henry.
How do you pronounce it?
Henry.
Thierry Henry. Sorry. I ain't French, man.
No, we can't.
Do I look French to you?
Can't disrespect the greatest player
I ain't
that's
French.
ever worn the Arsenal badge. No. DT.
Fair.
Thierry Henry.
I watched the other day the NCAA tournaments, whether if it was the final, the men's final, or the women's final. You saw 2 teams in the men's final that were not playing great basketball, but Michigan the effort of Michigan brought them over the line to beat UConn, and they didn't win a tournament for a very long time. And then you watch the final before the women's final, you see UCLA beating South Carolina that no one thought that was going to happen, winning their first title. And you mentioned Marcus Llorente, and I don't know if you guys watched it, but the way Gabriela Jaquez played, and we can talk about Lauren Bates and Kiki, but you will know if you know Kiki, but that's a different ball game. But the way Gabriela Jaquez played,
that's the Kiki.
no, but the way let me finish. The way Gabriela Jaquez played that night reminded me of how UCLA won that title. If you don't play as a team, even if you have great players, you're not going to win.
This was the kind of American culture reference we were looking for earlier when you were trying to do your...
That's great.
It's a good point, and I think even looking at that Michigan team, to his point, very talented. But I think you and I easily established on this show that from a talent perspective, a lot of other teams that were comparable. There were other teams that spent more money. Did they move or play the way that Michigan did? No, absolutely not. Like I said, the way that the off-ball movement, the communication, the amount of no-look passes and lobs that I saw from that team in the course of one game is something that I would expect to see from a team in maybe an entire season. And that tells you that it's all about instincts. It's all about ball placement. It's all about timing with all this stuff. And that's why, when you look at, you even compare the two sports, it's in one way, obviously they're very different, but I guess that's one way they are very similar, is that all pieces need to be moving as one. And when they do, it looks like it did with Michigan, and especially with the Arizona game. So, yeah, he brings up a good point. Like I said earlier, you can have vanity and flash and all those things, but if they ain't moving together as one, it ain't going to happen. Right.
Afternoon, Dave, all the way from Airdrie, Scotland. I think I got it right. But yeah, no, he brings up a really good point. If you were to go back to the Michigan national championship game, they played horrible, but I think they made 2 jump shots in the whole game, which is crazy to think. And it goes back to the Arsenal point where they played horrible, but again, at the same time, we know that's going to happen when you're up 1-0 going into a leg and you have it at home. You're not going to risk things just for the sake of it for that particular game. But if you're a team and you're able to buy into what the coach is selling, if that's what you're buying with Arteta selling things and all this and that, if you're able to buy into that, results will happen, and results will happen in your favor. And I'm not going to sit up here and complain about Arsenal getting into the semifinals because I didn't like the way that they played. Look, they won 1-0. They scored 1 goal in 180 minutes. But you know what at the same time they did? They gave up 0 goals in 180 minutes.
Yep.
So I'm fine with that.
Yep.
Literally, we were talking about it with at the DCFC game. John's like, well, all you got to do is score 1 more goal than the other team, because that's what the Chicago Fire does. There's only been 1 game this year in the 7 or 8 games that they've played in all competitions. They've only given up 1, or they've only scored more than 1 goal in 1 game this year.
Yeah.
John's like, well, that's all you got to do. You got to score 1 more goal than the other team. And that's all that matters.
Yep.
And I think, to the Arsenal point is I think they're just buying in, man. They're like, you know what? We might not be able to score as much. We may not be able to take as risks, but if we defend our asses off, something good's going to happen. And, hey, they're in a semifinals. It's not by mistake. They played horrible yesterday, too, and it's kind of what I've always been saying the last couple of months. But, hey, they're still in everything, so I can't truly complain. I'm never going to complain for my team getting to a semifinal. Never going to complain about that. Okay, the Atletico Arsenal game, from a neutral perspective, I feel for a lot of you. I don't think you guys are going to enjoy that game from a neutral perspective.
Right. Yeah, I think the one thing we've learned about this year is that Arsenal is effective, and they have been effective in so many ways, but rarely is it. I would say rarely, but from time to time, it's not flashy. Especially with their ability to score and capitalize off set pieces. It's just not their way. But I think, to his point, if you win, you win. You're not always going to have your A game. How do you grind it out to still find a way to advance or not lose? I think that's the more important thing. Defensively, shut down the other team. So I think that's why maybe it just doesn't sit well. But we see that all over the place. Even to draw a basketball example, I remember the Spurs when they had their dynasty. People didn't necessarily love watching the team, but they were fundamental.
I thought the Spurs played beautiful brand of basketball.
Tim Duncan was not the most attractive player to ever watch play the game. He was
I
the
love
big.
the way they moved it.
Oh,
Like,
I love me
offensively?
too.
didn't
Pure
like that?
basketball. I mean, I loved it, but I mean, to the people who like, flash and glit and glam and cool and high flying, like it wasn't that brand of ball that Popovich played was very much a pure basketball way of playing the game. I mean, Pop is a Hall of Famer for a reason, but I wouldn't say it was the most like watching the big fundamental and Tim Duncan was not something that I don't think, I mean, there were probably other players in the league at that time that you'd much rather be like, oh, Kobe throw up 400 shots. Yeah, I would much rather watch
Man, I
that
liked Manu,
than Tim
Tony,
Duncan.
Tim.
I
Like,
love those.
Kawhi got
Yeah, don't get me
there.
wrong.
Dave
Yeah.
Green.
This isn't
These
a
are big
personal
games.
statement. I'm just saying. Yeah, I'm just saying they had a squad for sure that they beat the Pistons too, I believe, in the finals, that group. Which
Yeah, 05.
screw them.
Which
But
we're,
but
a
anyways,
couple days away from Detroit basketball. Wallace. I'm hyped. I'm hyped for that. I'm hyped for that.
Hornets
Sunday.
got to get through one more game in order to get that first round matchup against the Pistons. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I think they got
Dave,
the
come on
Magic
now.
tomorrow night.
Dave, we know he goes, watch the first 20 minutes of the Arsenal game, then turn it over to the other game. I chose poorly. We knew. Now, I think Atletico Arsenal play, they all play separate days, so you don't have a choice to watch that one. So I feel, hey, I will be glued. I will be tuned into it, but I'll tell you this. I feel bad for the neutral that wants to watch that game. I feel for you, Dave. I feel for you. I don't know why you didn't even want to start with the Real Madrid Bayern Munich game. You knew that one was going to be better. There's a goal in the first. There were 2 goals in the first 6 minutes actually. 2 goals in the first 6 minutes. But hopefully
That's
you were
funny.
able to catch the rest of the Bayern Real Madrid game, and you actually enjoyed the rest of your day, because I feel for you, man. That was not a good. That was not a fun, entertaining match.
On the other side here on the National Soccer Network, let's talk about the new Gen Z soccer proposal from Napoli president, laying out a new path in college soccer. It's going to look completely different, guys. So a lot of stuff to talk about there.
It's
But FC Bayern Summer
pro,
Soccer,
not college.
a
Pro.
new
Pro.
pathway from college, though, is what was what I was getting at. But anyways, proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, fostering football excellence across North America, open to boys and girls of all skill levels. FC Bayern camps deliver elite training inspired by FC Bayern Munich's world-class philosophy. Select your city and start a promising soccer path. And right now, save $30 on registration by using promo code BayernNSN30. Again, that's BayernNSN30. Scan the QR code on your screen. Learn more at FCBayernYouth.com.
So the dream behind Irene's was simply to be a place where the community could come and gather. This is my hometown, we're raising our family here, and we just want to be a space where people can come together as a community and share a great meal. We've got golf simulators, we got pinball, live music, trivia nights, but we also have fresh, always homemade, locally sourced food, and we serve it with a sense of Gemütlichkeit. This is a German word that conveys a sense of warmth and coziness and belonging. We're excited to show off how we're growing and that this is the place to be.
And we're back in on Inside the Game, episode 269. Ryan, getting into the second part of our conversation here in hour number one. We got a lot to cover. This, as well as what's going on at Inter Miami. We'll get to the tailgating stuff if we have time here today with FIFA. Just weird how all that's breaking down. But you did mention this story and taking a deeper look at it. It is interesting. You were right, by the way. This has to deal with Italian football and a new plan here in April of 2026. Designed more for Gen Z viewers of the sport. Napoli president Aurelio De Laurentiis, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, has proposed a radical sweeping change to football designed to cater more to the Gen Z audience, warning that the sport risks losing the younger generation due to long match durations, tongue twister, and lack of action. Some of these changes being shorter matches, reducing total match time from 90 minutes to 50 minutes, to 25-minute halves, a stop clock system, essentially implementing a net time. So when the ball's out of play, the clock stops to eliminate time wasting. It's more of, I feel like, the kind of American sport thing. I mean, I feel like anytime the ball's out of play, the clock stops. No yellow/red cards, replacing traditional cards with temporary expulsions, as in 5 or 20 minutes in a sin bin. So like a penalty box. That reminds me more of hockey. Instant penalties for diving. Players acting or diving would be immediately forced to leave the pitch. I'm okay with a flopping rule. That sounds not too bad. Also, fewer teams, reducing Serie A to 16 teams and compensation for injuries, blah, 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 a bunch of other stuff. But there's a lot of things in here, and you have some other stuff on your list as well. Make Arena a digital and integrate 5G everywhere in the stadium. Also kill traditional TV rights. Make every team have its own streaming service. We see that a lot at the lower levels here in the U.S., but not at the higher levels for sure. But is there one or two things in this list that you look at? We'll start off. Let's start off with the positives. What are two things that you would like that have been proposed by Napoli?
Diving, I guess. It's the only thing. It's really nothing. There's nothing great about this at all. Diving, sure.
Yeah.
But maybe the TV rights, because you can mic up more players and everything. Baku mentions no tailgating and parking at stadiums. Americans not so good at public transportations besides New York, I guess. Yeah, no, the American culture from transportation to the European.
New York good at public transportation? Okay.
Well,
I mean, I
they
guess their
actually
subway
have, like,
system.
trains and stuff. And
They have a
subways.
subway system. That's
So,
true. Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Chicago
Baku,
does, though. They all do.
The American culture for transportation and the European is night and day. Majority of people don't even own cars, from what my dad told him in his time in Spain. He's like, yeah, the people just walked everywhere or used public transportation. Anyway, this is the stupidest thing I think I've ever seen in my life. We're gonna cut the game in half so Gen Z doesn't lose their attention. I get it, attention spans are short, but if you're watching the game, they just sit on their phones anyway. So I mean, if you're there, I'm tuning into the game. I'll be on my phone a little bit, but if it's work related, I will always be on my phone because of certain things. But no, you can't just cut a game in half. Like, that is.
Yeah,
I remember during COVID, people were like, yeah, let's cut the game to 45 minutes or whatever it is. And I'm like, guys, that we can't just ruin the game here. We can't just stop the law of the game or anything like that. No, we can't do that. We got to still play a full 90 minutes. Like, so then the league, then we might actually have some parity in this thing, because all you got to do is score one goal and then defend for like 20 minutes. Like, just hope nothing happens. No, that's the dumbest thing. We're going to get rid of 40 minutes? We're going to get rid of 40 minutes of a game. That's like playing 7 innings the rest of the year for baseball. Yeah, we're just going to play 7 innings because, you know, Gen Z doesn't pay attention as much. Yeah, no, we're going to get rid of, we're going to make, in the NFL, we're just going to make 7-8-minute quarters, and just because Gen Z is just, they get bored quicker. No, like, obviously, I mean, the arena making it digital as possible, that's great, I guess, for, you know, everything else. That's perfect. But you can't just abolish cards. Like, if a dude gets sent off, a dude gets sent off. He doesn't come back in the game and you play a man. Like, you can't just change the overall style of a game. And I don't know where the Napoli president is going with this. He wants to, like, put this everywhere, but, like, This is the
Yeah.
dumbest proposal I think I've ever seen in my life in anything of sports. Like this is more dumb than expanding March Madness. This is the dumbest thing I think I've ever seen.
Like any of these meetings, you're going to come out with a list of changes, and then you're probably going to whack a few off the list, and then you're going to end up, maybe settling on a few that you think, okay, let's slowly start to implement these and see if they work. The comparison that I draw, if there's one sport that I think in terms of the traditionalists really sticking to, hey, we have to keep it the way that it is, not change it, outside of soccer/football, baseball is another good example of this. And baseball, and I only say this because I speak from a place of experience. You go back a couple of decades, there was really a point where we had to kind of decide because of the way that society was moving. We couldn't stick with the old method, which was these games lasting 4 hours, which is guys taking 2 minutes in between every pitch and guys stepping out and messing with their gloves and looking around. We had to find a way to make the game more active and engaging for an audience that is existing in a social, interconnected world. Because I can't tell you how many times, Ryan, I've had a sports game on and I'm just on my phone scrolling and it just so happens to be in the background. Like, they had to figure out a way to make baseball more engaging. And the biggest issue that they addressed was pace of play. So what did they do? They implemented the pitch clock. I don't know if you remember when that first came around, but traditionalists were pissed. I mean, it was bad enough to suggest that we have replay review in baseball. We know why that came along as Detroit fans. We're well aware as to why that was the case. But pitch clock stuff was seen as sacrilegious by baseball fans. Has it changed the game at all? No. As a matter of fact, I would argue no one even notices it now because it's not that big of a deal and everybody's used to it. What has it done, though? It's created a faster paced game, a more interesting game. The games go quicker and things happen a lot faster than what they used to. It's not like we're just having a picnic and watching a game. So you're exactly right. Some of these proposals are ridiculous. You're not going to shorten the game to 50 minutes. You're not going to cut this match by 40 minutes. I mean, part of the reason why I think 90 is perfect is because of, again, just how big the pitch is and the way the game is played. It's a slower paced game sometimes. And if you just don't like that game, then you're not going to be a fan. It's the same thing with baseball. Like, I can't force the pitcher to get the ball back and throw it 3 seconds later. Like, if you want to go watch the Savannah Bananas, go watch the Savannah Bananas, right? But that's not actual baseball. But if you like entertainment, go watch that, right? No, the hell it ain't.
Yeah,
I mean, I know these guys are former minor leaguers and college guys, but
don't diss on the Savannah Bananas.
Ain't real baseball. It's like the Harlem
is.
Globetrotters. Although the Harlem Globetrotters can ball, I'll give those guys some credit. Because they almost beat Michigan State. I don't know if you've ever seen that video when they played Tom Izzo's MSU. It's so cool. But no yellow or red cards. This isn't hockey, guys. Come on. We're going to create a penalty box in soccer. You really think that they're going to respond well to that? Hell no. So instant penalties for diving. Yes, I agree. Get rid of as much of the flopping as you can. Now, I know it's strategic. I get it, but come on. Also, the stop clock system. If the ball's out of play, maybe something along those lines. I realize added time has always been a part of the game. I'm speaking from an American perspective, so people are going to look at me and be like, idiot, we don't need that. But, I mean, in a situation where we're talking about wasting time at the end of matches, yeah, I think it might be something that's worth looking into. But fewer teams, whatever, compensation for injuries, fine. But some of these, there's a difference between optimizing and completely changing the game itself. And so I think by reducing the amount of time and taking cards away, that is in my mind, that's more Americanizing it than anything else, because that makes it feel more like hockey, which is a North American sport, and less like soccer. And I know I have issues with the terminology and all that stuff, but I don't think there's a problem with the way the game is structured. If popularity was dying off, that'd be one thing, but I don't understand why we have to. It's not though, and it won't ever. So little tweaks, sure. Let's play with some stuff. I'm open to making little changes, but do we need to fundamentally change the sport? No, absolutely not. Not to cater to a
AGK
group.
in the chat says, I mean, only U11 to U15 should be around 50 minutes. I think it kind of is. I think it's 50 or 60 minutes. U16,
Yep.
U17, Youth League should be 90 minutes, in my opinion. I would agree with all that. I mean, even in high
Yeah.
school here in Michigan, we only played 80 minutes at the varsity level. And JV was 35 or 70 minutes. Maybe that was just because to make sure.
Yeah, but
the
even in
games
high
ended.
school, you guys don't have added time. You guys had what?
No, they stopped the clock,
the
though.
clock kept.
They stopped
Yeah,
the clock for all that
exactly.
stuff. AGK as
Right,
well.
right. So yeah,
I agree. 90 is perfect. Players need to get used to 90 minutes running, as stamina matters a lot. But for baby leagues, U11, U14, 50 minutes looks good. Yeah, I know it's less than 70. So yeah, no, I think.
and
with
keep in
the
mind
young,
this is for the fan experience. This isn't like changes to the like. This is for like.
yeah,
I think
no,
that's what he means, like at the professional level. Yeah.
But no, I think no, you're right. AGK, yeah, I would agree with all that. I think at the younger levels though, it is all that. But just for the professional game, I mean, we can't be changing everything. The whole clock thing. If they were to,
Right.
I mean, you can stop the clock during the water breaks, but for throw-ins and stuff, no, you don't stop the clock for all that stuff. It gets added in the end, and they
Yeah.
add more time than
Right.
there actually should be. So, like the whole time wasting thing, it happens in everything. Like, if we're gonna add the 5 seconds on to the end of the stoppage time anyway, and stoppage time goes over anyway, so it's not like it matters. Stop the clock obviously after the whole what is it, water break and everything, because that's going to be a big thing this summer just because of the heat and everything. But no, like, do not have a clock that stops the clock at all. Please just don't
Right.
do that. The only way you should do
Right.
that if there's a serious injury and you need like a water break or something. But yeah, maybe if you're going to review, I guess, and you need to like go check the monitor, sure, maybe stop the clock. But I mean, if the ball's out of bounds, just don't stop it.
Let me ask you this, because as a fan of the game, and as obviously someone who's followed this since you were young, and I would say the same thing about baseball. I didn't think there was anything major that needed to be changed about baseball. Now I appreciate the pitch clock from a broadcasting perspective because it moves the game along. It's not as daunting as it could have been once upon a time. I think it has made it better, but the game within the game, when it comes to at the end of game, the stalling and all the other antics in order to slow the game down, and when it starts to turn into essentially just a big like shouting match between both sides. Like, do you enjoy the game within the game at that point? Like, do you like the stall tactics and everything
Yeah.
else that
'Cause I did it
goes
myself.
on in that regard? Yeah,
it's
I
gotta
mean,
be-
I
it's
don't
gotta
know.
be smart and
right.
everything. Obviously, it annoys
Right.
me if your team's losing, but no, it's smart.
Right.
Dave says, I have seen games that ended 1-0 and it flew by. On the other hand, the first 20 minutes of last night's game was torture. Yeah, man, I don't know why you watched the Arsenal game. Like, you knew what was going to happen. I don't know what team you support or anything or what club you support, but we knew that was going to happen. Come on, Dave. Come on. Now you're smarter than that. But no, the game within the game is it's smart because I did it myself. It's a part of the game. Like it just happens. Stall tactics. People going into the corner. The ball's in play. So we're gonna stop the clock because they went to the corner to shield the ball to try to waste time. Is that what we're gonna stop that too? No, it's a part of the game. That's what happens. So like when basketball players intentionally foul, we just gonna get rid of that and just minus 5 seconds because I don't know. Like no, it's a part of the game. The ball's in play. The ball's out. We're having a throw in or a goal kick, and and the goalie or a player walks to it. Happens all the time. It's part of the game, man. And then when your team does it, it's like, oh, it's fine. But then when you're losing, it's all of a sudden it's a massive issue. But like, no, it's a part of the game. We can't just eliminate everything because we need to, tailor our game towards a group of kids that probably don't even care about the sport anyway. Like, no, we can't just change the game. If there's a couple fixes, I would probably say make sure just the calls are more consistent. That's the only thing that you can do because soccer is a way different sport than everything else. Like it's, what in your eyes is a foul compared to like in, basketball, baseball, football. We kind of all know what a foul is and it's called pretty consistently, but soccer, it's weird. It's up to what the ref says and what he views and everything. So
yeah. Well, and I even asked you, I'm like, because I felt like I knew this before I even asked you, but I'm like playing advantage. I'm like, how long does that last? And you're like, I don't know, as long as the ref wants it to last. And I'm like, okay. I mean, and that's a lot of what it comes down to is just it's up to his discernment. It kind of reminds me a little bit. I guess hockey can move the same way, but you're right. There is a certain motion and a certain fluidity to this game, and I think there's just a lot of traditionalists that would not let any of that stuff happen. So
Yeah, Dave is actually a Rangers fan. So he goes, I'm used to torture. Hey, you got the best derby in the game. You got the best Celtic Rangers derby. That's I would love to get there one day. I remember what happened in your last meeting against them, where you had fans running onto the field and Celtic just won. I think I was in a cup game or something. But yeah, no, unbelievable derby that is, Dave. I don't know what you mean by torture. Don't you guys split all the time? I'm not familiar with the Scottish League, Dave, so you'll have to teach me a little bit about it.
We'll learn a little bit more from Dave when we come back. Let's take another break when we come back. Let's talk about Javier Mascherano at Miami. Some issues inside the clubhouse. I had a feeling something like this was going to drop at some point. It is a star-driven league, means you got to get along with the stars, and apparently there was trouble in paradise in the clubhouse. We'll chat about that. We'll also chat about the whole FIFA tailgating thing going on here. Just weird. All that and more coming up next on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Inside the Game continues along here in hour number 1 in episode 269. Very nice. Looking forward to episode 270 coming up tomorrow. Nate Wangler and Ryan Glinsky, as always. Ryan, talking about Inter Miami. I know we mentioned him yesterday. Javier Mascherano out as Inter Miami manager because of a fractured locker room and not a good relationship, apparently, with some of the stars inside of the locker room for Miami. You know, I imagine if there's a place in Major League Soccer that you have to know how to balance star power as well as personalities, Miami is probably the place. But what says you about maybe what's going on in the fractured locker room there in the Sunshine State?
Just too many egos. It's what happens when you have the greatest player of all time, Suarez, Messi, Jordi Alba, the best MLS goalkeeper of the year. Just too many egos. Yeah. And I mean, Miami last year during last season during the regular season, they had a lot of issues themselves. You had Suarez spitting on someone. You had Mascherano in the stands with a phone or something when he got a red card or something like that. No, they just had a bunch of issues, a lot of sidebars and everything. That's expected when you have so many great players. Maybe not great players right now, but great players in the course of their careers. That's what's going to happen, especially with a guy like Luis Suarez, who has created so many issues as it is already. This is bound to happen. This is issues within each other are going to happen, and it's not like Miami is off to a bad start this year. I mean, they're still sitting towards one of the top teams in the conference. Yeah, I get it. They're not to the start that maybe they would want personally, but they started the same way that they did last year. They just given up a couple more goals. Mm-hmm. So they're there. They're a great team. They're going to be making a deep run into the playoffs unless some crazy upset happens. But no, this team's fine when you have so many different egos and so many different personalities in the locker room. This is bound to happen. And I wondered when they hired Mascherano to begin with, who doesn't have any managerial experience, and you have so many egos to balance left and right, that how is he going to respond to it? How is he going to how is he going to take care of the issues if they ever had issues? And clearly they've had issues. And clearly they don't have an adult in the room with Mascherano. Mascherano, great player. I'm sure he's a great manager, but I don't necessarily know if he's a great manager of players and a great manager of people. I don't know about that, and he clearly has not shown in his tenure in his 60 some odd games that he was the manager of. And clearly the guy is a good coach because he won something. He won a tournament or won a championship. But I just don't know if he's a great manager of players and personalities.
Yeah, and I don't care how strong your relationship is anywhere and in life, whether it be a friendship, personal relationship, intimate relationship. At some point along the line, you're going to run into conflict and you're going to run into an issue in which, both parties are not doing well, or they have something that is unresolved that needs to be fixed. And for Javier Mascherano to say that he was in over his head with Miami, I'm sure you could probably say that, but the reality is that, he did win an MLS Cup. X's and O's wise, he was perfectly fine. I mean, he put this team in a good place. You could say that Messi carried and a lot of the stars carried. And, I think that's why Inter Miami, you could say it's a hot ticket job, sure. But on the other end, if you take it and if you lose, it's almost like thankless in that way. Like, we expect Inter Miami to be in the picture regardless. So if there's anything to the opposite, it's almost like that puts you in an even worse spot. But it is much like the other American pro leagues. The MLS is in some ways modeling itself after what we see. Really, I would say, like in the NBA, in Major League Baseball,
they're not as
stars
bad as the NBA.
Is what
the NBA is way
they're
worse.
They're not. You're right. They're not. But they're almost trying to emulate that in a way, because the stars is what stars drive those leagues. Stars drive those teams and those organizations to a fault. Like we were talking about yesterday, when the league itself has to say, hey, you have to play X amount of games in order for this and that and these other things to happen. I think it's like 65 games. Like, it is completely star driven and star controlled. And LeBron was the first player to kind of usher us into that generation. But in Major League Soccer, it is all about the stars as well. And we've mentioned that before on this show, and Messi being number one, but that Inter Miami team is star filled. And so they are the ones that kind of, they drive the ship. And if you don't appease them, if you're not, I would say buddy, yes, but if you're not easy to get along with, or if you have your own strong personal opinions, and you look at a championship, it can do one of two things to an organization. Number one, it can either make them stronger, or number two, it can sometimes fracture relationships because everybody wants to take credit for what you have done already and what you're going to do in the future. So if Javier Mascherano was like, I have a vision for this, but these guys aren't on board with it, things are uneasy. If it comes down to Inter Miami going, listen, if it's either our stars or it's you, we know what the easy answer is to this, and you got to go. And we'll find someone else who's going to establish a better relationship with these players and kind of let them direct the ship the way that they want to go. Major League Soccer is a star-driven league. I feel like just as much, maybe not just as much, but just like a lot of the other leagues here in the United States. And so, yeah, obviously those guys are going to take priority. And so, you feel for them. And I got to say, at least it was amicable to break up with Inter Miami. I'll give the organization some credit. They didn't let it fester. They didn't let it boil over. They didn't let it lead into something that, it could have been far more. They decided to make the decision and break ties, which is a hard thing to do when you're in the middle of a season, and you're potentially chasing another cup final and bringing another one home for Miami and for Florida. So credit to the organization for being quick about it. Credit to Javier Mascherano and just kind of accepting his future and seeing the writing on the wall, because that's just the reality of what it is. And like I said, relationships break down over time, but when you're dealing with the star power, the Hollywood-esque, that the mentality that goes on at Inter Miami, those relationships are going to deteriorate a little bit quickly than what they would have otherwise. And I think we certainly saw that with his relationship there in Florida.
Yeah, no, you're right. I mean, you got to make sure the stars are happy, and especially with such an influential player as Messi in your locker room, or maybe even Suarez. He's an influential player as well. DePaul maybe not as much, but again, they're still great players in their own right. And as American fans, sports fans, What do you love more is seeing stars in all the leagues across the world, even the Premier Leagues or the La Ligas, the Bundesligas, and all that fun stuff. Even we've seen in the Saudi Pro League with Ronaldo. If you make the superstars unhappy, they're not going to want to play. And people only watch your games because of the players on the field, maybe the coaches, but typically who are the ones out there for you? Who are you watching? You're watching the players out there. And you've got to make them happy. You got to make sure that there's no tensions. And I still think that's why you bring in a guy like Xavi, who's been in probably the worst situation a manager could ever be in, which is, your club is damn near $1 billion in debt because of what the last owner did. And you got to rely on, academies, and you got to rely on young players, and you got to rely on old washed up players who have massive egos and think they're better than everything. So that's why I would have Xavi. I think Xavi is the way to go. I think he would handle things, but Miami's going to be Miami. They're going to still take care of business. They're going to be a threat wherever they are. They have so many stars on the team. Like, this is it's an unbelievable team and the amount of talent that they have. But I would not go as far as saying the MLS is as bad as the NBA. The NBA is way worse. Like, Lonzo Ball out here tweeting yesterday about stuff and talking like, dude, Lonzo, you don't even play anymore, dude. Like, you're just hurt the whole time. Like, please, just shut up, Lonzo. Yeah. Like, you don't do anything. Your little brother is also a douchebag as well. Literally could have hurt Bam Adebayo the other night, holding onto the arms of Beef Stew and everything. Like, come on, guys. Like, I like the Ball family. I didn't hate him or anything. I was like, LeVar's just trying to hype up his sons to give him the best opportunity. Whatever. But then I just see all these different comments and how the way they act and everything. It's like, come on, guys. Like, please be better. I don't see... I mean, outside of the whole Messi situation and the referee situation back earlier, I think like a couple months ago, I have not seen any issues really with the MLS in terms of their players and their individuals and everything. Like,
that's not the
NBA.
No,
the NBA people are just
the only comparison was that it was star driven. No, the entitlement and the filthy money that NBA players get and just how self-centered and all that stuff. It is grotesque. And, and that's the thing about like even the Hornets. It's like, you look at like the Bad Boys or like the Going to Work Pistons. It's like, yeah, they were gritty and you didn't like playing against them and they were kind of, SOBs, if you will. But that wasn't Brandon Miller, freaking Miles Bridges, and LaMelo Ball. Two of the three, by the way, shouldn't probably be playing the sport right now. But that's I guess a story for another time. And then you add in LaMelo, who's never seen a red light in his life, and smashes into people. And sorry, I was just sending a text. I wasn't paying attention. It's like this Hornets team in general. I hope they are the Grizzlies of 2026. I hope this is the Ja Morant 2.0, where it's like eventually it's just all going to come crashing down. Because I can't figure out why I hate an organization that has historically sucked, but it is so easy to hate this Hornets team. But anyways, getting back to our soccer talk, let's take a break here. When we come back, I want to talk about this FIFA tailgating mess. This is just the weirdest thing ever. Nobody understands what tailgating is, and also FIFA's now lying and saying they didn't say anything about tailgating. I don't know what to believe at this point. But Barca Academy is a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network and the official academy of FC Barcelona in the United States. Designed for boys and girls ages 6 to 18, Barca Academy camps follow and replicate the FC Barcelona game model. Same philosophy used by Barca's professional coaching staff. And right now you can save $30 on registration by using promo code FCB30, and that's FCB30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you at fcbarcelona.us/camps.
In Barca camp, I sing my song Grown on and off of the field. Don't miss the time to register.
Sign up now for Barca Camp.
Into our final topic and hour number one here on Inside the Game. Nate Wangler and Ryan Glinsky, happy to have all you joining along here today for the conversation. Also appreciate you guys, as always, dropping in comments. Dave, I know you're dropping in a few as well. We appreciate you joining us all the way from Scotland. Ryan and I, we talked about it yesterday, the different parts of the globe that we've been able to touch with this podcast so far. So I'm interested to see maybe where else we can cross off of our list as we continue to go. But Ryan, this this FIFA tailgating nonsense is just kind of weird. It's weird and it's wild. We were saying yesterday that FIFA wanted to do away with tailgating. No tailgating outside of the stadiums. Only dedicated fan zones was where they wanted to direct people to. And now apparently they're doubling back on that and saying they didn't say no tailgating. So little confused by all that, but what do you have any updates on what's going on with this whole story?
No, there's nothing updates. You said everything that I know and everyone else knows.
Yeah. I mean, so no, they didn't say no tailgating. So, and then of course layered on top of that is the lack of understanding as to what tailgating is and explaining it on social media. You saw a video of someone trying to explain what tailgating is yesterday to the non-American audience.
The Brits did not understand what tailgating truly is. They're like, it's like a party inside your car before you go to the game.
Yep.
It's not what it is. It's
So,
you're outside, but
I'm assuming Dave is still watching our show right now. So, Dave, I got a question. All right. So, tailgating in the United States, right, is like, I'll give you an example, right? So, my Uncle John played football at the University of Michigan. His mom started a tradition where she would make chili as like a team dinner type thing, right? So, she would feed all the players. I think it was like the day before when they had their team get-togethers, whatever. But eventually the tradition caught on and people started, fans started having this chili. Everybody was talking about it. And so essentially what she did was she created what's called Mama Wang's Chili, which in the parking lot outside of the big house, right, there would be a tent, or maybe it's on the golf course. I don't know. It's somewhere. I haven't been in a while. But they set up a tent. They make all this chili. And essentially, people after they park, as they're getting ready for the game, they all hang out all together in a big group outside of the stadium. They get some chili, they drink, whatever, and then they walk as a group into the stadium to watch the game. I would imagine in soccer/football cases and wherever else, the only difference is that you guys meet at a pub, right? A pub or a bar or more of a designated place. Albeit, it's not in a parking lot somewhere. Although it's a lot more organized than you think. I think people just think everyone just shows up in a parking lot and it starts partying. Like, that's not quite how it goes. But it is, you are meeting in an organized space and then walking together, drums, flags, whatever it is, to the stadium. How is that any different than an organized space outside of the stadium that isn't necessarily a pub or a bar? Like, that is like, it's roughly the same thing, right? And keep in mind, in order to go to these tailgates, you have to pay to get into them, right? So a lot of them you have to pay to get into, not all of them. It is in a designated spot. A lot of them are fenced off. And so I guess what's so hard to catch on to what this concept of tailgating is? That's the part that I don't get, Ryan. And that's why I'm asking Dave, like, I'm assuming you guys meet at a pub or a bar or something, right? Like that's the pregame, and then you walk to the stadium. I mean, am I off base with this?
No, it's pretty similar. I mean, the only difference is you don't have to pay to go into a bar compared to tailgating spot.
Yeah,
it's the only difference.
I mean, there's some tailgates you got to get into. I know at Michigan there is. I think at Michigan State too.
At Central, everywhere you have to pay to get into the tailgates. If you have a car, you can walk around wherever. But if you have a car, you have to pay to be into everywhere.
Right.
And it wouldn't be any difference. NFL stadiums, you have to do it. If you're tailgating outside, like you have to pay everywhere for it. And I imagine it won't be any different just to be in a parking lot at for the World Cup. It's gonna be the same thing.
Right. And so I guess I don't understand what the big debate is, what the big dilemma is here with FIFA.
The issue with all of this is is what happened at Copa America. That's what the whole issue with all this is. They do not want a repeat.
I know you've mentioned that a lot. Yeah.
They don't want a repeat of that. And they also don't want a repeat of what happened at the Euro final in 2020. They don't want that to happen. They don't want all these people drunk as could be, doing other certain things, shooting fireworks out of their butt like they did in the Euros. Like, they don't want these certain things because it creates so many issues in the game. It delays games, and that could, hurt if, maybe there's 2 games in a stadium in a day. I don't know if that's a thing, but it hurts so many different things. So what they are trying to do is, all right, well, you just go to the bar instead, or you go on a public transportation. Look, and at the same time, they don't want people to, hijack anything, or I forget the exact term that they use for getting into a stadium when you don't have a ticket.
Yeah.
Because it's much easier to do that when you're outside the stadium drinking. You're like, dude, let's just try to get into the stadium, see if we can get in for free, rather than being at a bar, half a mile away or whatnot. And it's like, yeah, I don't really want to walk to maybe get into the game. So, like, that's what they're trying to do. And I can understand why they want to get rid of it. Obviously, I know, like, you don't want to get rid of it. It's a part of American culture, and you want them to go in the fan zone so they can pay $10 or whatever it is. But, like, look, the issue is that. And obviously, I don't want a repeat of that. I don't think anyone else wants anyone to repeat what happened in the Copa America final, because that was a disaster. And also, if you were to get a matchup to, say, I don't know, maybe an England versus Germany, and we have drunk English fans and drunk Germany fans in a parking lot next to the stadium, who knows what that could really be? Because then I also think if you're at a pub or a bar that's half a mile down the road, you're not going to be as drunk as if you were in a tailgating spot. Because, look, you're already there. You're already at the game. You don't have any issues. All you got to do is walk a couple 100 feet, get to the ticket scanner, and you're in. Whereas if you're in a bar half a mile away, you got to walk still a far distance just to get there. So you're going to be a little bit smarter. Being away from the stadium, drinking, doing whatever you have to do, you're a little bit smarter, I think, personally. At least I was, compared to being in a tailgating spot just outside the stadium. That's what it's all about, is eliminating that possibility.
And I know there's going to be dedicated, like, fan viewing zones. So, I mean, that in my mind, it kind of works the same way as a tailgate. I think it's just FIFA trying to, be very organized
the fan zones
about.
are different because you're watching the game. You're watching
right.
the game in a massive crowd with a massive screen in front of you. They're way different than a tailgate spot.
Not an informal tailgate, right? More of a designed to watch the game. But, I guess I'd be interested to see, can they pack everybody into these bars and these places all around? Because it's going to be packed. My only question is, like, does it really take tailgating to draw a crowd that might want to try to get into the match without having a ticket? Like, just because you're having tailgates, all of a sudden that
it happened already.
You're more at risk. I know. Yeah, I understand that, but I think maybe they learned the issues in the error in their ways in terms of the security component of it that needs to be changed, as opposed to just, it's because we were having.
They're going to have security no matter what. Security will be amped up. But I'm just saying, if you are much more inclined to go into a stadium without a ticket when you're right there compared to being far away from a bar, you might just be like, yeah, dude, I kind of like just sitting here. We'll let everyone go. We'll sit here. We'll get some food right here in the bar and not move. We can just watch it on the TV.
Yeah, but if the bar or restaurant, I mean, is like walking, like, clearly, like, right down the road or something, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't normally sober up in the half-mile walk to the stadium. That's typically something that doesn't happen. And yeah, I'm just saying, for even the people that want to get in that don't have a ticket, like, there's a will, there's a way. Like, I think there's going to be that population, that crop of people who are going to do that anyways. The only question is, do we, like, are we beefed up security-wise enough in order to stop that? But the part about, like, you don't want the drunk French and English people all in a parking lot together, like, that's the part about this game that, like, it's the reason why I want to go watch a football match in the likes of England or Spain or anything else, because that's the antics outside are typically the things that kind of add to the intensity of all of it. And yeah, I mean, but you could say the same thing about American sports, though, right? I mean, like Eagles fans and Eagles
Maybe
fans
college
and
football,
New
that's
York
about it.
fans. Dude, I mean, look at the freaking. I would not go to a Knicks game with a road team jersey on. I just simply wouldn't do it. Like, unless you want to get mugged just outside of the stadium by a group of 15-year-olds and there's 25 of them. Like,
That's a little
this,
ironic coming from you, Nate. That's a little ironic
why?
coming from you.
What's
Yeah,
ironic
that's-
coming from me?
This is very ironic from you.
Hey, Sam, would you wear a Soviet Union hockey jersey?
Probably not. Maybe in Russia.
Very
I
ironic
mean, but
coming from you.
have I worn it though? Like, that's the question. I have
You
not
want
worn
to,
it.
and you have it, and you don't even have a
I've
Miracle
thought
on
about
Ice
it.
jersey.
I've
but
thought
no,
about
like,
it.
the cultures in Europe and America are night and day. Ohio State fans obviously walking around Ann Arbor and everything, and we all say it's the greatest college football rivalry, but they were all fine. Yeah, you get chirped at a little bit. You're not getting beat up.
Yeah.
You're not getting mugged the way that they do in England or anywhere else.
Yeah.
That doesn't happen. The Knicks, that doesn't happen anyway either. No one's ever reported that. No, it's night and day. The issue is that they don't want it is because you don't want all these fans in one spot, drunk, other things that they're going to be doing, being under the influence. But no one wants to do that. Like, we don't want to mesh all of these people together in one spot outside the stadium. Look, they're going to have designated bars for fans or whatever it is. I forget what exactly what they're going to call it, but we don't want that. We don't want issues. We don't want fights or anything. We don't want all of that. Vertical Gambit, which, by the way, did get a chance to check out your comment yesterday on our video. Really good points. I'll probably elaborate a little bit more tomorrow, but we got a ton of stuff to talk about. But he says the Buffalo Bills fans. I've never interacted with one.
Bills fans aren't that bad. Come on, man.
I mean, I get it. They jump into tables and stuff, but I mean, I don't.
Yeah,
think
they're crazy, but they ain't dangerous. I wouldn't be scared to go to a Bills game. I mean, it's Buffalo, New York, guys. I don't think they ain't that rough around the edges.
And another thing we haven't mentioned yet is the public transportation thing, and everyone's mad about prices, this and that. So then why don't we just get upset when the Uber costs $100 to go half a mile? Like, this happens. We know what happens, guys. Whenever big moments, big events come into a city and they come into a town, what does the city do with everything? Everything gets jacked up. Why do you think hotels cost more on a Saturday than they were a Tuesday or a Wednesday? Because more people are traveling everywhere. Like, and I forget what governor came out and said that FIFA's got to cover the public transportation costs. No, they don't. They don't have to cover it. You were the ones that put the bid in. You know how much it would cost. You knew everything. But now all of a sudden we're just going to bitch and complain, New Jersey. Yeah, it's New Jersey governor or whoever it was. They're like, oh, FIFA should cover it. No, they don't have to. That's your stuff, not FIFA's issue. That's your issue.
The cost to consumers, like the cost of people that are going to these games, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah,
they think FIFA should cover that.
Yeah,
yeah. I mean, it's unfortunately, I think it's on the person that's coming to the city to be able. But the only thing is like you got to think about the other people that live in that city that are not a part of that need to get to work, that need to get to other places, that are just going about their day-to-day life. Like, I know it's not their problem. Like it's good business. Obviously they're going to raise their prices. They're going to make more money, but that's the hard part is those people that have nothing to do with it, that are just, again, trying to get to work or whatever it is, that are going to be affected by those adverse prices. You know, that's
yeah, but don't they have passes? Don't they have like a year pass? If you're going to use it so much, you'd be smart.
Yeah, I would imagine like a subway or like a subway system or something. Yeah, there's probably a pass or something else along those lines.
Like,
yeah, I mean, but that's not the only hit to consumers necessarily in the area. So, you know, if we want to argue FIFA should financially alleviate some of that stuff, I mean, I think that's a fair argument. I just don't know what that would look like. But it'll make life extremely different for people in those areas, without a doubt.
But then what about the people that, you know, have been in the Euros, or when the Euros are in certain countries, or just the Super Bowl. Like, people, like,
Yeah.
for the Grand Prix in downtown Detroit, you know, people
Oh,
have
yeah,
to
they
get
gotta-
down
they
there,
gotta-
but roads are blocked everywhere because there's a damn race in the street. But no one's ever
Yeah.
complaining about anything like that or complaining to get to work because guess what? You know what? There's this thing, guys. There's this thing called work from damn home. You have a laptop and anything. Everyone in Detroit, they just go, all right, we're working from home this week. If we really have to come in, we really have to. But, like, work from home that week because I get how difficult it is. It's almost like that's a solution, too. I just don't understand. With
Not
this whole
everybody
damn
works from
World
home.
Cup, everyone's complaining. They're pissed off about a penny. We got to cut a corner here, cut a corner here. FIFA should pay for this. Why isn't this being paid? Look, guys, you put a bid in for the damn World Cup. You knew what was going to happen. You knew the measures that it was going to happen. And all of a sudden now we're just not happy because, oh, wait, we got to spend some money here. We might have to up prices. Like, what? Guys, we knew what was going to happen, and yet we're still bitching and complaining about it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you can put a bid in, but not expect some of the logistical nightmares I'm sure that have arose because of it. Like, that doesn't mean that
some of these cities
like,
have had a damn
get into
Super
a
Bowl.
relationship.
They've had Final
What's that?
Fours.
No, I know. But this is different. Like, it's the World Cup. This isn't like anything that I'm sure that they've seen before. Also, dealing with American companies, FIFA is the entire world. FIFA's not just a US based organization. So it is different, and everything involved in it is different, especially the amount of people that are coming to the US. So the planning for this tournament is on a much more massive scale. It is comparable to the Olympics, but I imagine the Olympic Committee is a lot easier to get along with than FIFA is, right? So that adds another layer to everything that we're talking about. So I don't think any of their concerns aren't legitimate at all. I just think it's a lot to watch all the different moving pieces. And yeah, you know, they're capable of hosting World Cups in other places, sure, but this is the first time we've had this expanded format, and it's in the United States. So we're learning a lot of stuff as we go about maybe how tricky it is to add all of these extra games and these extra
Well, they're in
locations
different countries.
and
They're
different
not
stuff.
all
Oh,
solely in the
I get it.
US.
Right. And so that is the logistics of all of that is probably just nuts. Of course, we don't hear a lot about the updates from Canada and Mexico, obviously, because we're focusing on the United States. Obviously, we're in the US, so we're going to talk about that more. But no, I think there's legitimate concerns. I just you know, I don't think it's enough to be like, well, you put the bid in to have it, so therefore you have to deal with whatever happens after that. It's like, well, no, they're still allowed to give pushback on certain things and to question FIFA on certain things and get them to, you know, put their money where their mouth is in whatever
but it
way
was
that
writ-
looks
it was
like.
probably written out. It's like, all right, guys.
You know this?
They know what it takes for all of this. They know what it means to host something. Everyone knows everything, but the moment that you've got to,
I'm sure they do.
put up and do everything, it's like, okay, well, I don't like this. Well, you're the one that wanted to have it. Now it's in.
Let me put it this way. Have you ever seen these types of stories come out about the Olympic Committee and all the other Olympics that they've had here in the U.S., whether it be summer or winter? Because I don't remember as
when have
much
we had an
as much.
Olympics that I was born for in the U.S. Because obviously they're hosting it in 2028, the Summer Games in LA.
Right.
But I just searched up. What were some concerns before the 1994 World Cup? One of them was limited soccer infrastructure and popularity. Obviously, we knew that. Political and cultural anxieties with the post-Cold War and Iran and all the fun stuff. And then one of them was security and law enforcement concerns. Given the scale of the event, more than 40 U.S. agencies coordinated one of the largest law enforcement operations ever attempted at a sports event. There were concerns about managing large crowds, potential protests, and the integration of a global event into American society. And guess what happened? It was A-OK. I just think people just like to sit there and complain and bitch about everything. And look, we've done it before, and we can do it again. We've had so many different people from all over the world come to our country for another World Cup. Now, I don't know what the issues were in Atlanta, which, gosh, that's a horrible spot to host an Olympics as well. So, and, hey, we hosted the Winter Olympics in Lake Placid. How about that? We did that too. All I'm saying is is it seems like they knew everything that was happening, maybe one or two things that they didn't know was happening, and you knew the money you had to put up front, the things you had to figure out. Now that we're under 70 days away, it's all of a sudden everything's a massive issue. Well, you knew what was going to happen. The tailgating thing, that's completely different, but I completely understand why they're going to do all this. But, guys, the whole public transportation thing, I don't want to even know what an Uber costs to get to place during the World Cup. I don't even want to go about that. So are we going to charge? We're going to make FIFA cover Ubers as well? Like I don't know what everyone just wants FIFA to cover absolutely everything. Well, at some point you got to put up your end of the bargain too.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to make blanket statements about things that are going on without knowing the specifics of it. But I hear what you're talking about. I guess I can hear where you're coming from for sure. Let's, on the other side of this break, let's take another quick one. We can get into our all sports conversation if you would like, Ryan
We're not
Glinsky.
talking about the MLS teenagers?
Oh, yeah, we can do that as well. I completely forgot about that. A record amount of MLS teenagers right now competing, over 35, I believe 38 total teenagers competing. Wild stuff. But Man City Soccer Camps are a proud sponsor of the National Soccer Network, bringing world-class training inspired by Man City's global football philosophy to players across the United States. Open to boys and girls of all skill levels, these camps focus on technical development, decision-making, and playing the game the City way. Right now, you can save $30 on registration by using promo code MCNSN30, and that's MCNSN30, or scan the QR code on your screen. Find a camp near you at usacamps.mancity.com. Let's get into all sports here in hour number 2. We don't discriminate. We love all sports here on Inside the Game. So let's talk about all of them. Let's get into the second part of our conversation. I'm kidding. No, we can. I know we got one more topic left. I'm just messing with you. Ryan's like, what?
I just pulled up everything, like during that commercial break. I pulled up everything that I needed to talk about for this thing, and I was like, no way.
Oh man, you know I got to rage bait the rage baiter from time to time. I just like seeing your face change. You're like, what the hell is this guy doing? What are you talking about? Hey, stop doing whatever you're doing.
I'm putting this work to see all this stuff, and I'm like,
I'm doing my thing. This jackass is just going his own way. All right, let's talk about it. A record amount of teenagers competing in Major League Soccer here in the U.S. I believe 38 total. I know you got something set up for this, but an indication of maybe progress. There's a lot, I'm sure, to take away from this, but 38 of them, that's a lot.
Yeah, no, this is a great thing because I think we're starting to see the academies. The academies kind of take place. I know that was a big thing for USA Soccer and all that fun stuff. Like everyone was kind of complaining about academies. We need young players. We need this, and that. We need to be like the European game and all that fun stuff. So I would just say that this is a great thing. This is a good thing because the MLS is not a destination league. We just aren't, and people who are
Yeah.
Americans who typically are like, what? We don't have a destination league in a sport? Yeah, that's true. If we can become a selling league or if we could just sell our young American players overseas, that's a win,
Yeah.
I think, in my book, because we're promoting our youth academies. We are promoting, homegrown players for our own MLS clubs. We're giving our own a shot rather than just buying, old washed up players like Heung-min Son or a Thomas Mueller or a Timo Werner for our squads. No, we have teams, and we have teams that have so many teenagers, and we're bringing in the youngsters and all that fun stuff. That's great. We need to have that all over the place, and that's a good step in terms of our soccer progress. Obviously, this record today doesn't mean that we're going to win a World Cup, this year or in 2030. That doesn't mean anything, but it's a step in the right direction. And there's a couple teams that I actually have that have done really good jobs so far this year. Obviously, the New York Red Bulls, #1 team in terms of giving teenagers chances. Julian Hall, 632 minutes. Adri Mehmeti, 569. Matthew Dos Santos, 480. And then another player, Tanner Rosbro, with only 61. So they've given in a total of their 7 games this year in the MLS, 1,742 minutes to kids that are teenagers. On the other side, for San Diego, there's 3 teams that really do a really good job with this. And the other one is San Diego, where they've given Duran Ferri 540, Luca Bambino 584, Oscar Verhoeven 312, Pedro Soma 155. They've given almost 1,600 minutes. Real Salt Lake on the other side, 2 of them, Xavier Gazzo 540, Aiden Hezerkani 322, so over 1,000 minutes. And then Atlanta United gives a kid, Cooper Sanchez, almost 500 minutes already this year. So, no, this is just a very good sign for American soccer. It's a good sign for the MLS because, look, we want our American players to go to Europe. We want them to go succeed in Europe's game because that's going to make our U.S. men's national team better. It's going to make our game overall better, and hopefully, kids start wearing American soccer players that are on teams like Real Madrid or Barcelona and stuff like that. So we don't have to see, American kids walking around with Mbappe and Lamine Yamal jerseys. We want them to see, them wearing Pulisic jerseys and Weston McKennie jerseys. We want to see that. But at the same time, if we are able to get these kids, maybe some minutes, get their feet wet a little bit with the MLS, experience what pro games are like, and then sell them off to European clubs, that's a win in my book. Or they get snatched while they're already in the academy, and they go to another pro academy like a Matthias Albert, or what Pulisic did, or what Gio Reyna did, or all those guys did. And I chose Dortmund as the option. But if the MLS could become what the Bundesliga kind of is, which is get all this young talent. Obviously, Bayern Munich is the outlier, but if we can get all this young talent produced in our academies and with our teams and then sell them off to the bigger clubs, I think that is a massive win and a massive step in the right direction for American soccer and the MLS.
I agree. No, I think our top prospects are getting younger and younger, and I think that is the biggest sign of progress, in my opinion, because you look at some of these Premier League sides and their academies, and someone like a Lamine Yamal, and these players that they debut as young as they are. It is an indication of just how good the academy system is, and how good they develop, and how they're able to identify this talent early on, and so. To see that a lot of our top end prospects are as young as teenagers, and that there's 38 of them in Major League Soccer, and more contracts that are being absorbed overseas and transfers, it's all an indication of success and an overall, a better look at what these academies are doing. And I think the emphasis on that part of the conversation has become more and more so in the American conversation with the implementation of MLS Next and how much we've seen that grow in the USL and those 2 different levels. That has been in it. I'm ashamed to say that it hasn't been more of a focus for longer, but we just had to get the main league itself, to a spot of relevance before we could even worrying about academies and continuing to develop in that way. So I think the money and the resources in that way, is specifically for the MLS, has led to these results, which is better development. And I think the rest of the world is taking note of that. Are the leagues in the US very popular? No, they're not, but they have more and more proven to be better breeding grounds for talent and players that can go elsewhere and really make a difference, and just continue to implement more of America in the international scope. And so when your best prospects aren't quite cracking 20, 21 years old, when we're not talking about guys that are, 22, 23, that might be the best player we have available, but rather 18, 19-year-olds or even before then, that shows you that, that we are taking that next, maybe albeit a little step. It's an important step in the right direction. And so, I guess shout out the MLS for actually investing more heavily into their academy side, because it makes all the difference in the world. And so I think that is an indicator of growth. What that means for us, I'm not sure, but I think it's just another one in a list of indicators that we're looking for, that a lot of your top end prospects are that young. And so, yeah, we've talked about a lot of different ones, but I think it's always really, really, really important, and it continues to grow. So yeah, certainly something to look at.
I didn't even mention Kevin Sullivan. He's only played like 100 minutes, and
I was about to mention him. Yeah,
and he's supposed to be like the next greatest thing or whatever it is. But yeah, he's only played about 100 minutes. I think he's 16 or 17, one of the two. But like these kids, give a shout out to Michael Bradley for the New York Red Bull, first year head coach and first year managing a MLS side, like the senior team.
Mm-hmm.
And he's doing it with the youth talent. Obviously, I don't know how long that'll last. I mean, all three of the teams that I mentioned are in playoff spots right now. I get it. There's only 7 games into the season. There's a long way to go, but this is a very good start. And if we can just continue to do this, and again, I didn't even mention Kevin Sullivan, who's supposed to go to Manchester City at 18. Like, if we continue to get these kids, get these guys in the MLS, and I didn't mention the USL academies too. That's another good one where USL academy players are eventually getting into the first team. They're playing for the USL Championship side or the USL League One side. I mean, even the Flint City Bucks have so many youth teams as it is anyway, and they have a Flint City Academy as well. So if they can just get these kids through the academy, because one thing, it does save you a ton of money in the end, because you don't have to spend millions and millions of dollars or pounds or whatever it is to buy a senior player that's already been proven. And then once you eventually sell that player, as Alex Lubianski says, he goes, once you can sell one of your academy players, it pays for the next 10 players because the amount of money that you made through that one transfer fee. And that's why I still say that back to like college football, those mid-majors, there's good talent in the mid-major level. If they could somehow find a transfer fee, quote unquote, to get to sell these players to the Power 4 schools, that's what's going to keep these mid-major teams afloat. I'm just saying, just putting it out there. I know people don't really.
No, you get your money. You get your money, and it overall, when you get your money because you produce good prospects, even if that player is not in your league anymore, more money is not a bad thing. There's more money leads to more opportunities to go out and get better players, or again, as you said, put 10 more players through the system. And so it is cyclical in that way. And so I think it is still necessary for the MLS to go out and get those retired stars, right? Because away that puts more eyes on your game, but the emphasis on the academy.
Oh boy. Oh, you good?
I'm good. You good?
All right. Just making sure I have no idea what you said there. You completely cut out there. And
I
was about to put myself just on screen for a second. So what did you say?
No, I just said it's a two-pronged approach. And I made that video talking about how, I don't understand what the MLS is, because you're right. It's two-sided, right? You have, let's go get our stars and try to up the importance of our league and the prominence of our league, but also the development side. But I think that the latter is the most important in terms of the financial viability of what Major League Soccer is.
And people also don't realize when a young player, say a 15, a 16-year-old, they see that there is a pathway to get into the senior team through the academy system, that is such a good selling point. People I don't think realize, when you're a college recruit and you realize that out of high school that, maybe by year 2, maybe year 3, I'll be a starter for whatever college football, basketball team, soccer team. Obviously, I know that might not be a big thing nowadays because of the whole transfer portal, NIL. But if there is a clear pathway, because just using Arsenal as an example, because the last couple of years, Arteta has really gone to some of the youth movement at times, because he was losing youth academy players to rivals because he wasn't using them. Now we see Dowman, and we see Winier, and we see Lewis Skelly, and that Solomon guy or whatever his name is. But when those kids and those guys and those parents see that there is a clear pathway to get to their child's dream or their player personal dream, that there is a clear pathway to get to this where they want to go, that is so sellable and that is so attractive to that player and to that family, where maybe at the age of 14, we don't try to go overseas and try to work it out there because they actually use their academy, whereas here we're just trying to sell tickets and all that stuff. Why do you think I still say that the USL is a better pathway than the MLS? I still believe it to this day because they don't have as much money and they rely a little bit more on those free players and those free transfers through the academy, because that's what it is. It's a free transfer basically to improve your squad. And when that happens, that is in a really good state, and it's helping the MLS. Obviously, there's so many more issues. There's so many issues with the MLS, but this is a good step in the right direction.
I do think that there is a little bit of an arms race, though, between Major League Soccer organizations and trying to find the next it guy, like finding the next prospect, finding the next dude. I do think there is a little bit of a push, a competitiveness in recruiting in terms of trying to, teams crossing paths and trying to get the next guy, not necessarily one that's already proven and retired like a Messi or a Hun Sung Kim or any of those guys necessarily. I'm talking about like someone like a Kevin Sullivan. I do think there is very much an emphasis from these clubs and finding or developing the next dude. And so I think that is healthy for development and growth as well. I know we mentioned like, well, Pro Rel could do that. Maybe, but I think there is certainly a competitive nature in it, as evidenced by what we've seen from Miami and the massive facility that they're building. I mean, their players are never going to have to live anywhere else. Like, they live in one place their entire life. And that's kind of indicative. That's indicative of a lot of other systems and places around the world and how these academies operate. Like, Miami's trying to be the face of how this is supposed to be done in the US. And that's why I can't really hate on Miami, because I think it's what they're doing is cool. It's revolutionary, but that is the other side of it too. I think there is very much as there's an arms race in terms of building stadiums and facilities. I think it's the other place the money is in. And if the money's in the youth and in the academies, we're doing okay. No complaints over here. No notes.
I missed a comment coming from the Instagram chat from Worldy Draft Football. He says FIFA is not paying for the transportation costs. Laughing emoji. Yeah, no, they ain't paying for any of that.
Yeah,
but then you also realize, back to the main point, you also realize how much credibility and how much, like, if you were to find the next diamond in the rough, I feel like that is a very overused term in American sports. Like, when it comes to recruiting and development, like, we're just trying to find development in the rough or a diamond in the rough rather, and we're trying to develop with less, do more with less. You know how much credibility that is when you say that I found Kevin Sullivan, or I found Christian Pulisic, or I find Messi. Like, there's a guy on Michigan basketball assistant staff where he got Cade Cunningham to go to Oklahoma State. Like, who gets a superstar basketball player to go to Oklahoma State? And I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, I like this guy. Like, this guy knows how to recruit. There is a sense of credibility, and players will also know that, because when young players or young families see that, they're like, well, what have you done? What's your credibility worth? And you sit there and you go, yeah, I found Christian Pulisic, I found Kevin Sullivan, I even found Weston McKennie, and all of a sudden, everything's sold. Like, why do you think so many players were going to Alabama's or the Ohio States or the Georgias? Because there is a foundation laid of they can get players from high school to college to first-round draft picks in the NFL where all the money is. So that does so much, and I think the MLS is again, we kind of bash on the MLS sometimes quite a bit here on the show, but with some of the ways that they do business. But no, this is a very good thing. Like, even the Chicago Fire game, Pareda and Shugaluk, who scored and assisted goals against Detroit, those guys are all MLS Next guys that made its way to the first team. So if there's a clear pathway for kids and families to know, then they're going to try to go do everything they can to get to that correct pathway.
That'll wrap up our soccer conversation here on Inside the Game. Coming up next, you want to talk a little bit about Kevin McGonigal. I know we got a half hour left here. We got a few different things. Let's talk about Kev, and then we'll get into one of the spicier stories in our all sports content, something that we've been wanting to get to. It's Diana Rossini and Mike Vrabel and the mess that's turned into. All that and more coming up next here on Inside the Game.
Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today. Experience the thrill of the game like never before with NSN's Game Rewind. Dive into full match commentaries enhanced with cutting-edge dynamic graphics, letting you relive the highs and lows of your favorite matches in astonishing detail. Whether it's a championship win or a legendary play, NSN Game Rewind bridges the past and future with a broadcast experience designed to captivate. Call 586-304-4405 and start watching today.
Nate Wengler, Ryan Glinsky, back live here on Inside the Game as we get into our final half hour of our conversation here on ITG. Pretty proud moment. It felt like a proud father moment yesterday. I saw the formative years of this prospect, and now he's playing in Major League Baseball with the Detroit Tigers. He's the man we've been talking about pretty much every single show. Kevin McGonigal inking an 8-year, $150 million contract with the Detroit Tigers, one of the top prospects in baseball. Got paid, and then he got paid quickly too. Tigers locking him down for 8 years. And, Ryan, after this happened, the first thing I did is I immediately ran to local sports radio just to hear what they would say about it, how they would talk about it. And predictably, the way you would expect Detroit fans to be, they were paranoid and they were anxious. They're like, why would you do this? This kid's not proven. It's his first year. Why wouldn't you wait? Everything else along those lines. The reality is that the Detroit Tigers, for as good as they were, when I was younger and, in the mid 2010s and those seasons, they were really good those years because, Father Ilitch was willing to do the one thing that I feel like a lot of Detroit owners are not willing to do, owners or GMs, which is spend money. The thing about Detroit is that, sometimes you have to be willing to go above and beyond money-wise in order to get players to come here, which means you have to be willing to put yourself in the negative sometimes to go out and compete for championships. But for one reason or another, the Tigers have not been able to develop a homegrown bat in this organization in what feels like since the Reagan administration. I mean, this is not an organization that historically develops all-world bats. Yeah, they'll go out and get a guy. Miguel Cabrera was not drafted by the Tigers. He was a Marlin before he came to Detroit. He won a World Series before he came to Detroit. I realize he was young.
Only World Series.
In his only World Series. But there are a laundry list of players that were not developed by this organization, but were brought here because they were, purchased. Kevin McGonigal could be that guy for this organization. And when I say could be, there is a difference between, what Colt Keith and the contract that he signed, because I agree that Colt Keith was a great player, but I didn't see that coming. There's a difference between that and Kevin McGonigal, and the difference is when you watch a player play in person, and this is the thing about like the whole, I also get into this when we get into the LeBron and MJ debate. I never saw MJ play. You see the highlights, which is fine, but you get a different respect for what a player's capabilities are when you actually get to see them in person. And I'm not putting myself on some sort of pedestal here by saying, well, I've seen him in person. It has nothing to do with that. But I've seen some other prospects that have come through that have also had their big money days that you just had that certain feeling when you watch them. Pete Crow Armstrong is a great example. I never had a doubt in watching PCA, even for the handful of games that I watched, that he was going to be as good of a Cub as he's turned out to be. Ellie De La Cruz is another great example. Now, Ellie De La Cruz is just a massive human being, and I mean, he moves like Avatar. I mean, he defies gravity. I also had the same feeling about Jacob Mizorowski of the Brewers, who could throw 102, 103 miles an hour without really even trying. And I also have that same feeling about Kevin McGonigal and everything that he's done. Guys, he was playing in High A West Michigan at this time last year, more than halfway through the season. And now he's in Detroit, and he's already one of their best hitters. Let me put it this way. If you don't give him that contract, somebody else is. And then what happens then? We relive the same exact nightmare that we have been living as Detroit sports fans, what feels like over and over and over again. Great prospect. He was ours. Now he's playing for someone else. And look he's tearing the league up. And that is a universal experience. So if you didn't close that deal, if you didn't go after him, guess what? Somebody else would have. And they would have put up a better deal, and you would have lost out on it. Again, in my opinion, and I've said this before, the best hitting prospect in baseball, period. So I feel this little bit of hypocrisy from the Detroit fan base, and maybe they can help me out. Because on one end, you want to complain about how they never spend money, no one ever takes risks, no one ever. But on the other end, when we do, all of a sudden it's too early. Oh, he doesn't deserve the money. He hasn't earned the money. You got to help me out with this. You really have to help me out with this, because I don't know what it is that you want to see out of the kid. I know that he's fresh into Major League Baseball, but this is how this goes. You sign early, because if you wait, the market shifts, and then that contract might look a little bit different depending on what he does for the remainder of the year. So I like it. I like that Scott Harris pulled the trigger on this. I think he deserves every single penny. I come from a place of maybe being a little bit more biased, being that I work for the organization.
What's that on your chest there?
Yeah, you see.
Yeah, I know. We just talked about credibility, and I'm thinking. No, I want to give some numbers real quick. So McGonigal will be making 8-year $150, so he's making $18.5 million for 8 years, for every single year. And I want to tell you about another shortstop that is on the Tigers that everyone doesn't really like, and name Javi Baez, who makes $24 million a year. I'm just saying, if Javi's making 24 as a shortstop / center fielder, which, come on, Zach, man, we're Chippewas. We can't be going out of the game because we got cleated in the back of a calf or something, man. We can't. That's not showing toughness.
It hurts.
Which McGonigal was third base last night, and then obviously Javi went to shortstop. Hey, Javi Baez is an all-star. What can I say? So, but no, I just want to go over some numbers here. So the top 10 highest paid shortstops in 2026: Corey Seager, $32 million; Trey Turner, $27 million. Which I have a funny story about Trey Turner. Francisco Lindor, $27 million, which is my favorite baseball player of all time simply because of his walk-up song. Dansby Swanson, $27 million, who I met last year. Xander Bogaerts, $25 million. Trevor Story, $25 million. So in the 10th highest paid is Ha Sung Kim of the Braves, $20 million. Mookie Betts tied for him as well, $20 million. So, which he's an outfielder, which I don't know why he's on this one. But anyway, you get the point. This Kevin McGonigal, $18 million compared to all these guys who are going to be getting. So, like, even when, again, I don't know if contract renegotiations happen a lot in sport, in baseball. Like, when you will see players who won't go the whole contract being paid that amount because they've been playing so well, and they'll renegotiate and they'll start making more. But that might, when someone was like, well, we're going to have to renegotiate him in 3 years, I go, that's a good thing. Like, that's a good thing that we would have to renegotiate him because that means he's playing well. But if we're willing to give Javi Baez for 6 years, $24 million, I think he was maybe making closer to $20 million at the start. If we're willing to do that, and this guy's had like maybe one full year of good baseball in totality of his 6 years here.
Oh, hey, come on. That's not true. That's not true.
I mean,
but yeah, go ahead. No,
if
you're
we're
right.
willing
Okay,
to
go
do
ahead.
that, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with that if we're paying this amount of money. And I will. And then everyone's really just complaining, well, Tarek Skubal is up for renegotiation and we're not paying him and all that stuff. I'd much rather, if I was given an option right now, pay Kevin McGonigal, Tarek Skubal right now, 10 times out of 10, I'm going Kevin McGonigal. Why? Because I'm going off potential. I'm going off bats, which we seem to struggle with in the history of the Detroit Tigers baseball. Maybe Max Clark comes in and saves the day, but pitching-wise, we're pretty set. I mean, Framber Valdez, hopefully Jackson Jobe comes back from an injury pretty well. You got Jack Flaherty. Verlander's just on a retirement tour, so I'm not really going to count him in this whole situation. Casey Mize still a little bit young. Maybe he's still trying to, blossom a little bit, hopefully. And look at the bullpen, and we're fine. I get it. Tarek, you want the best pitcher in baseball. I get it. But this guy's, 30-plus, maybe right around 30 years old. Kevin McGonigal is younger than me, which, man, I'm really getting to that age where it's like, damn, these kids are younger than me, making way more money and doing way cooler things. So, yeah, man, I'm feeling old. But anyway, I'd much rather pay Kevin McGonigal right now than Tarek Skubal, 100%.
You buy your arms and you develop your bats. It's what the Tigers did in the offseason, right? They got Framber Valdez. They got Kenley Jansen. I think those are two big signings in the offseason.
Cool
Obviously,
song, by the way, for Kenley Jansen. Cool, like
yeah.
He's got the cool aura.
He's a dude, man. It's cool to say that Kenley Jansen is on my team now, especially with all those years with the Dodgers. I never thought it would happen. But he used to be a catcher. He actually came into minor league baseball as a catcher. Yeah, he was a converted because he played for the Great Lakes Loons. And my broadcast partner, Dan Hasty, actually worked with the Loons to begin his minor league career. So he was the same year that Kenley Jansen and Clayton Kershaw were on the team was when he started working. And I'm like, that's cool. You got to see Clayton Kershaw's rookie year. It's pretty nice. So hopefully he's got a card he can sell or something. But no, you buy your arms, you develop your bats. And that's not the way that we did it in the Tiger system for the longest time. And, you mentioned giving Al Avila credit the other day, and I know you kind of rage baited me into my response there. That was an Al Avila special, the contract that he gave to Javier Baez. And I remember that year it was,
he knew he'd be an all-star. He knew.
Yeah, exactly. But it was either Correa or it was Baez. And to be completely frank with you, I don't think either of them have necessarily lived up to the money that they were paid by their respective organizations. Everybody back then would have. Yeah,
but Correa Correa had an interesting contract back with the Twins because he could have opted out at any year if he wanted to.
Yeah.
We didn't have that with Javi. We're like, here's 6 years, $25 million a year.
That was
what could go wrong?
Avila, it was just his last-ditch effort to just stay around in his position. I mean, that's why he forced Torkelson up too fast. He forced Riley up too fast. Like, he signed Javi to this massive deal. It was just like, it was this last-ditch attempt. It's like when you're losing the battle, you just do one last Hail Mary to see if you can just turn things around. We were already too far gone at that point. But, I guess Javi has been willing to adjust for, the new coaching staff and for AJ Hinch. And so I give him credit for being more flexible than I think what people are willing to give him credit for. By the way, he had more than just a few good years. He was good with the Cubs. He was good with the Mets. I think he's just good on good teams. I think that's Javi's issue. On bad teams, he's terrible. On good teams, he's all right.
I got a question for you, Mr. Whitecap. So I did search up what Zach McKinstry was having because obviously I don't want Wenceel Perez playing every single day for the Detroit Tigers. Obviously, you can mix and everyone defensively. Cole Keith can play here, Glaber play here, Javi play here, whatever. McGonagall will play here. But with McKinstry now listed as day-to-day with a bruised hip, which, I mean, Zach, all you did was get clipped in the back of the leg. Come on now. We're the National Soccer Network. Everyone complains about us flopping and diving and acting dead. Come on, Zach. Come on, man. But anyway, I think you know where this question is going. Because there's one with a ton of chains down in Toledo who may have missed a handful of fly balls in spring training, but you know what? And he wrote an essay, and he's got a ton of bling. When does Max Clark come up to this team? Because Parker Meadows is dead. McKinstry's kind of dead, which, to be honest, I mean, come on, man. You just got clipped in the back of the leg. But I don't want Wenzel playing every single day. Javi, I thought, was a good center fielder defensively, but I mean, just saying, just asking the question to the baseball elite.
I think it has to do with contractual stuff because, a payday's coming for Max too. Like a payday has to be coming for Max. And you just put this massive deal for Kevin McGonagall. I will say Max is playing like he wants to be reunited with Kev because what's interesting, and you can talk to your dad about this.
Do they have a bromance going, like brewing and stuff?
Real fire and ice, man, which is just wild. Kev is just Mr. All Business. He just doesn't, he's kind of shy, I guess, in a way. Like you've seen the way he does interviews. It's like he's not the best on the microphone I've ever seen in my life. And meanwhile, Max is obviously like, Max is Max. Like, I mean, like all these kids are dressing like him. They all want his tattoos and his shades. And I mean, he's doing his, he's having his honeymoon in the most exotic location you've ever seen. And he actually has a social media team that follows him around. He's the first minor leaguer I've ever seen with an actual dedicated social media team to just him. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. Because I don't know how many millions of followers he has on social media, but I think it has to do with timeline. I think, it has to do with timeline. I think the Tigers have a timeline mapped out in terms of how the money all works out. The other thing that I would say is too, though, is we're still very early into this year, albeit he's having the hottest start of any minor league hitter at that level. He's hitting over 350, has a boatload of doubles. He's driving the baseball. This is a far cry from some of the offensive woes that he had during segments of last year. He's hit the ground running. I just think the Tigers, for the meantime, I think they just want to go with the more experienced option. I know you don't want to see Wenzel. I mean, I like Wenzel personally, obviously personal reasons, but I think it has more to do with the money component of it and just not being ready to sign another big payday when you just got done paying Kevin McGonagall. But rest assured, it will happen this year. I don't know when, but I mean, it goes back to why didn't they promote him earlier last year? They were both on the Whitecaps literally halfway through the year. By the end of it, people are like, hey, why aren't you promoting these guys? I'm like, that's above my pay grade. Guy, ask the Tigers. I got nothing to do with this.
Why aren't they being promoted, Mr. Announcer?
Damn it.
I don't know.
The guy
in the front office.
The guy who says the words during the game. Why aren't they being? I don't know. Ask them. Ask the Tigers. Don't ask me. But he's earned it. It's just a matter of timeline, I think, at this point for the organization when they want to finally pull the trigger.
Really quickly, Diana Russini, not Danielle. Diana Russini. Women ain't loyal. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah, but there's a double standard with all that. That's what doesn't hit me the same way about that story. Now I get it, and I hate the collateral damage that comes of it. I think that's the worst part about it, simply because of the, obviously the women in sports, and especially in media that I know and respect and that have grinded their way into those positions. It's like, that's the shit that just, it's like you're putting all of their asses in the jackpot too by doing that. You know what I mean? Like, you are, just by doing what you're doing as a person that's respected and works at ESPN, like, you are actively making it harder for everybody else in that same conversation. Like, that's the thing about these moments. Like, yeah, it sucks for her, but the collateral is the worst part, right? But on the other end, like, if you compare the two situations, like, both married, both knew they shouldn't have been in that situation, both knew they shouldn't have put themselves in harm's way, and have done this. Like, why isn't, like, the reaction from the team has been in terms of Mike Vrabel, well, this is just business as usual. It's just another coach doing something they shouldn't have done. It's like, it's what So one person gets to lose their job and the other person, it's just business as usual. Like this is, and it is true when you look at other things like domestic abuse in professional sports and some of those players that are still out on the field. It's Bush League. It is some baby back Bush League BS double standard that exists in professional sports to this day, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not taking anything away from either party or their involvement in it, but if we're gonna punish one side and the other end be like, it's just business as usual, it's like, come on, really? That's how we're gonna treat this? I don't know. It doesn't make any sense to me, Ryan.
Yeah, I forgot about the Mike Vrabel part. Hey, what a horrible year for, I think, just football coaches in general. You got Sharon.
Yeah,
you got Vrabel. You got Lane Kiffin. We know how fishy that guy is.
Man. Yeah.
Which the Ole Miss coach had a great quote for Lane Kiffin. He's like, if he was if he put as much effort into social media as he does coaching, Ole Miss would have won a national championship by now. Anyway,
crazy to think how they still won 11 games too.
Exactly.
It tells you how good that team was.
It's like, how did they win 9 games when he wasn't even coaching? Anyway, what the whole situation is, I think we just put football coaches or some coaches or just, celebrities on a higher pedestal when we really shouldn't. They are just as stupid as you and I. Like, look, Mike, you're a married man. You know that you just went to a Super Bowl in your first year. You did a great job with the Titans as well. Like, look, man, you are going to get, there's going to be a lot of eyeballs on you. Same thing with Diana. You realize that, you just can't be doing a lot of this. You just can't be putting all this out there. You know what's going on. Like, I mean, it's not like your husband did anything. Like, your husband's a vice president of Shake Shack. It's not like he doesn't have money or anything. I mean,
my guy,
Mike, you each have kids with people, like with your significant others. I mean, guys, what are we doing here? This is 2026. I don't know the personal lives of these people.
Common sense doesn't hit everybody quite the same way like it does you and me, Ryan.
Maybe there's open relationships. I don't know what goes on and all that fun stuff. But it's like, first off, if you're an NFL coach or you're an NFL player, like if you're one of the Patriots, I'm looking at my head coach and I'm like, I ain't taking marriage advice from you. I'm not taking any advice from you, which is weird because the coach, if you're in Mike Vrabel's sense, it's, well, are we necessarily going off of your word maybe? Because you may have told us not to do this, yet you're doing it. Be smart in public. Make sure you're not doing anything dumb. Well, coach, you just did this. And it's like, then you think of the kids of the parents. It's like, you told us not to do this, yet you're doing it. Maybe it's more of do as I say, not as I do. But
it's the NFL. It's the NFL. It's the NBA. It's unfortunately they're so filthy rich and they're making so much money that you really can't tell them what to do. And is that the only thing that's going on in that locker? Hell no.
They employed Stephon Diggs. Hell no.
The PR team is always working overtime because that's the life of the NFL and the NBA and those players. And so I just think,
or the lawyers of the teams too.
Exactly. This one just so happened to involve an ESPN reporter, so you knew it was going to be a little bit spicier than your typical, someone cheated or someone, domestic abuse, which is not right. Like we said, double standard and everything else. It's just, it's crazy. But let's get into the question of the day.
Also, not a good year for women reporters either. Shout out Joy Taylor. Ugh, not good. Not good. Anyway, Salt Athletic presented by, question of the day presented by Salt Athletic. My bad. Save 15% by using promo code NSN15 to save 15% off of that #1 smell-proof cleat bag. That 100% works. Scan the QR code or visit saltathletic.com today. But question of the day. We're kind of talking about prospects there with Kevin McGonigal. So what is your favorite sport prospect? Could be any sport that never panned out, but you were like, damn, this guy is going to be something.
I don't know. Is there one that pops off the page to you? I will tell you, I went as Joey Harrington for Halloween for about 5 consecutive years. So, I mean, he was a gunslinger from Oregon. So he was supposed to be the guy to lead him into the promised land. I know that's a little too early for you. It was early for me too, but he was supposed to be the truth. Or maybe didn't pan out in Detroit and panned out elsewhere. I don't know. Who's off the top of your head? Who do you think?
Can I say Bryce Underwood yet? Can I say that one yet? Like, obviously, I know Jerry's out, but I thought this kid was going to be a lot better outside of, what happened so far this year. But I would say my favorite prospect that I thought, this guy's going to pan out. Lonzo Ball. I thought Lonzo Ball was going to be insane. Like, the hype on this guy, I know I kind of crapped on him recently in the show, but I thought this guy was going to be the next great thing. Mike Korzembo was saying, meet Steph Curry with like a 40-inch vertical or whatever. Like, there was so much hype. He was unbelievable at UCLA. Gets to the NBA, and it just kind of became a shit show. I think he's a good basketball player. Like, I think he's a good overall point guard. I think he reads the game well. But from a superstar MVP caliber type of guy who he was supposed to be, hyped up to be, then you put him in LA with LeBron James.
Yeah.
Just never panned out. And, I'm going to rock with Lonzo.
Yeah. I'll go with how about this? I'll go with another NBA example. The way that people talked about Zion Williamson, I mean, it was on par with LeBron James. I don't think there has ever been another prospect in my lifetime outside of obviously LeBron himself that has garnered enough national attention and promise than Zion Williamson. I even close. Like, yeah, there have been great prospects in my lifetime that have come out of the college game. No one even came close to touching the amount of hype that Zion had. And then obviously he gets into the NBA and it's just like character issues, like the whole thing with IG models and, and then he's like suffering injuries and his big old feet are breaking through the shoes. And he's, it's like he's averaging 21 points now. He's a good NBA player, but Zion is not what people said Zion was going to be. He's not the second coming of LeBron James. In fact, he's far from it. And so Zion's probably another good example there too.
You know who I just searched up this one. I did the NFL. You know what's a good one? Johnny Football. Johnny Football.
Oh,
great quarterback. He was 2 years at A&M, walked into Tuscaloosa, or beat Alabama, and, Nick Saban, Derrick Henry was on the team, and he won a Heisman, going to win a national championship. Obviously, we kind of knew about all the different type of antics off the field. But gets to the NFL, and this guy just stunk. Never watched anything. Never watched film. Didn't try. And, Johnny Manziel is a failed NFL one. A couple other names. Jamarcus Russell, RG3. Brian Bosworth. I remember him, but, he took a lot of, PEDs and stuff. But that's another one.
Yeah. So, and I think Johnny Football was the greatest representation of like the difference between college and NFL. Like even in the NIL era, like in college, like Johnny was just so naturally talented that even against Alabama, like he just made him look silly. You get to the National Football League and the playbooks are just a different language. Like if you've ever heard them call out these play calls, like if you're not completely like overwhelmed in terms of the amount of information you have to remember, like it ain't gonna pan out, especially getting drafted by the Browns. Like people are like, well, what if he didn't get drafted by Cleveland? It wouldn't have made a difference. I don't care if
may have lasted another year
or two, or maybe, but that's it. I mean, this he even says it himself. He goes, it was never going to work out. He regrets a lot, but it's just the way he was. He's a flash in the pan, but one we certainly enjoyed. So plant the flag. That'll wrap up here episode number 269 on Inside the Game. Back at it tomorrow morning. Again, appreciate all you guys following along, National Soccer Network and Sports Nation. And until we chat to you tomorrow at 9 a.m. So long, everybody.
From the biggest matches to the hottest takes, Jonathan Turner and Nathan Wenger bring you the stories, the analysis, and the edge you won't get anywhere else. Streaming live weekdays at 9 a.m. on YouTube, Roku TV, Facebook, Twitter, and all major platforms. No filters, no fluff, just real talk, real soccer. This is Inside the Game.